everyone, and welcome back to the Year of Louisa May, Louisa May 2020 video series. This is the December video, and it is for the very well-loved Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. So in case you are not aware, this is a almost year-long read-along that Megan Hannett and myself are hosting, and each month we will be reading a different Louisa May Alcott book, and we're really excited about this project in case you couldn't tell. And the December pick was Little Women. A couple of reasons why we picked it is there is a fair amount of Christmas that is talked about in this book, and there is the new movie that is coming out, which I have not seen yet. I am going, right now it is Friday, the 27th? Yes, Friday the 27th. And I will be going on Monday. So I am very much looking forward to seeing it. And I just cannot wait. So Little Women, my main complaint with this is that it just went by too fast. But I think a lot of readers can relate to this kind of fear that you have in revisiting a favorite book, that it won't live up to your expectations. But when you do have a reread that lives up to your expectations, I think it's just as exciting, if not more exciting, than finding a new favorite. I think those are two of the kind of wonderful experiences, most wonderful experiences you can have as a reader, is to revisit an old favorite or to find a new favorite. And this is definitely an old favorite. So this was only my second time reading it. It does make me sad. I did not read this as a child or a preteen. I read it for the first time just like 4 years ago. I tried reading it once when I was like 12, and for some reason it just did not capture me. And I think maybe because it is a series of little vignettes all together, it kind of caught me off guard. And I also just wasn't, I think you really have to become practiced at reading classics. So I don't have childhood memories of the book, but definitely of the Winona Ryder movie. But yes, this was just a delight to read. And one thing I really appreciate about this book is that we're following the March family. So there is Marmee, who, they call the mother Marmee. And then the father, Mr. March, he's kind of a little bit in and out of the picture. So we don't get to know him as well. He's really behind the scenes in this because he is away for the war in a lot of this. And he is also, then when he's back, he just doesn't take as much like a center stage. And he's talked about a lot, but you just don't get as many interactions with him. And my only theory as to the reason for that being is that in Eden's Outcast, the biography we started out reading about Louisa May Alcott and her relationship with her father, Bronson, she had plans to write a book about Bronson, to write a novel, and Bronson would be one of the characters. She was never able to do that, but also their relationship was kind of tense and they had a hard time relating to one another. So I think that kind of shows in how his character comes out in this book. But you do get to know Marmee very well. And then what I love, I got sidetracked what I was going to say. I mean, there's so much that I love about this book, but with the four March sisters, Meg is the oldest, and then Jo, and then Beth and Amy, you can see that they all have these really distinct personalities. And so, you know me, I just go on and on about characterization. And so I love that you really do feel that each sister doesn't blend in with another one. They feel very distinct from one another. And what I really appreciate about Louisa May Alcott is she's very clear about showing her characters' strengths and weaknesses. And that to me makes characters extremely relatable. It's another reason why I love Elizabeth Gaskell so much. So I do hope this theme of showing really well fleshed out characters with strengths and weaknesses in them continues on with the Louisa May Alcott books that we're going to read, because this will be my only reread this year. I have not read anything else by Louisa May Alcott. And I really appreciate that you get to see in this book, it feels very relatable, and that you get to see these characters struggling with the things that the flaws that they're frustrated about in themselves. Jo with her temper, and Meg with her vanity, and Amy also some vanity, but kind of selfishness. and Beth with being so shy. You get to see them really struggle with that, and I think it really does make them feel relatable. It was really fun that my nonfiction November wrap up won't be up at this point. So I did, during the month of November as prep, I read Pilgrim's Progress. So I did love seeing all the allusions to that in this, and it's really special. And I just think, I think it's good to be honest about the fact that life is really hard sometimes. It's really hard, and you can feel very burdened. There's a whole chapter called Burdens. And just to that, this book really feels like balm for the soul, and it feels like a book that is so worth my time. I love that honesty, that sometimes life is still is really a struggle. And so you can have, but that doesn't mean you can't find enjoyment and satisfaction out of certain aspects of it, even if everything is not picture perfect about it. But I like that this book feels very true to life in that they have, in the midst of all of these joys, they also have all of these struggles and this suffering and some big heartbreak. And that about it, I really like. I know this can be critiqued as sugary sweet, but I really don't think it is, because there are really hard things that they're going through. The nation is at war. There is sickness, there is poverty. And I know I think I saw a review on Goodreads. They're like, well, they talked about poverty, but really how impoverished were they? But Louisa May Alcott, from reading her biography, there were points where it seemed like they might starve to death. That's how bad it got. So she's not treating poverty lightly. And I do think, I just really appreciated that about this. It's just really, I don't always want to read a book about picture perfect lives. And so I guess to me, it doesn't feel sugary sweet, since there's lots of hard things that these characters are going through, but they show dignity throughout. And I also love that you get to see the growth in these characters. You get to see them really change and learn from their mistakes and want to do and be better. I also I just love Jo March so much. And when people ask me, are there characters that you identify? Jo March is one of those characters, because it has gotten, less as I've gotten older, but I definitely have a temper like Jo March, and can kind of find myself saying things that I wish I could unsay, but you can't once you say them. I love her passion for life, and I do feel often that my enthusiasm that I have, I feel like I kind of try to taper it down. Like when talking about books, I don't want to overwhelm people with my enthusiasm. And I really do feel that I identify with her. So this was just a very fun and special reading experience. I actually did not read the physical copy because I was doing the hosting Knit and Listen with Natalie from Curious Reader and Christy from the Tiny Chronicles. And unfortunately, I really failed at Knit and Listen. It was not a great health month for me. I was really, really tired a lot of the month. And I tried about 6 times to cast on my brioche scarf, and I failed. And so when I had 6 false starts, I gave up. And with brioche 2-color knitting, once you get going, it's actually rather easy, but you have to do a setup row and then another row, and then you can start. So it's basically 2 setup rows. And I just got overwhelmed. So what I wish I had done is what Natalie from Curious Reader did, and she embroidered. And I really find embroidering to be, I find more of the time I'm happy with the end result with embroidery. So I wish I had done that, but it is what it is. But I did get something really special from this reading. I read this picture, this annotated edition, or rather, while listening to the audiobook, I would flip through and look at the pictures that were there. And one of the paintings that really struck me was one by Norman Rockwell. And Norman Rockwell, for those of you who are not from the US, you might not be as familiar. He is really just has such a reputation as a painter. And the Saturday Evening Post is a publication that he did regular paintings for, the covers of. And he has these very Americana, iconic type paintings where it's just very all American looking and very like baby boomers, how their childhoods would have been. Like these pictures, his paintings are kind of how I picture my dad's childhood being. Apparently, I did not realize before reading this annotated edition, he did the illustrations for a series. He did a series of illustrations for an article that was in, I can't remember the name of the article that it was in, but it's like something like Ladies Home Journal, but not a different title. Anyhow, and it was on America's Most Beloved Author. It was an article on Louisa May Alcott. So I definitely want to hunt this down at some point. I would love to read it and, just to find out more and, see what it is. But one of the paintings just struck me so much, and it's of Jo in the attic. And so I decided to ask for Christmas for this on a canvas. And so I have received it. She's just a character that I really feel is a kindred spirit. So now this will be hanging above the dresser downstairs where I put like the books that I'm currently reading. And I could not be happier to own it. So here it is. This is Jo March writing. And you can see Scrabble and then another rat, which I'm not sure if we know the names of both the rats. And it's just marvelous. It looks so cozy. And, I am such a homebody. And so I love this. I love it so much. I've been wanting to have more literary art up. Maybe something to do with the Bronte, something to do with George Eliot, something to do with Gaskell. And now that I'm doing this, I'm like, I need to commemorate the year of Louisa May with something. Kelly from Books I'm Not Reading for our Betsy Tacy 2019 reading project, she got this beautiful ornament to hang on her tree. And I thought, how cool that she got something to commemorate that. So I will get something Betsy Tacy related at some point. But I thought, you know what? Christmas is coming up. I want to ask for this for Christmas. And so, yeah, it's on canvas. And I just cannot wait to hang it up there. And it will make me smile every time I see it. And it does, I just love the look of focus on Jo's face in this picture. And there's even a book you can see in the background there. So yeah, I could not be more excited to own this. And it will just always be really fun to remember this year when I can look at it. I'm trying to think of anything else. I just have so many thoughts on Little Women. And like I said, it went by way too fast. I could not believe oh my goodness, I'm halfway through. Oh my goodness, 2/3 through. And then it was done. And I really, really enjoyed it. Regarding Jo and Laurie versus Amy and Laurie, I've been one of those people that I felt like the Jo and Laurie connection is really fun, but it might not be a couple that maybe necessarily should be married. I think that compatibility is like a really, you should pay attention to that. And just because you were friends with someone when you were young doesn't necessarily mean that you would be a good match to be married. You could be a good match to be friends. But then again, saying that, there are lots of people who are friends who, get married. But I guess I really think Jo's intellect is such a big part of her. And so I can understand why she would choose the professor. And I do think maybe she and Laurie would fight a lot if they were married. So I've been one of those people that's always been very okay with the professor and Jo ending up together. But I did find myself oh my goodness, I forgot how much fun Jo and Laurie have together. And so I was actually a lot more sad when she said no to him. I still supported her decision, but I still felt really sad about it. So there's probably a lot that I forgot to include in here. I forgot to talk about, but that is what I'm going to leave it at. And I just loved, so many of the familiar scenes that are just so dear to me. And I also really enjoyed the wisdom that Marmee gives to her girls. I think it's really sweet. She really takes her role as being their mother and caregiver very seriously. And I really appreciated her wanting to impart her wisdom and life experience to these girls, to these little women. And I'm really excited to follow the March family in January's installment of Little Men. So I hope you will join us for that one, and if not, join us for some books later in the A Year of Louisa May, and I look forward to chatting with you all in the comments about Little Women. So I will be back for another video soon, and have a lovely day. Bye.